Hi everyone, welcome to Knittings and Sewings, episode 13. This particular episode is called The Alien Invaded My Jacket. And why is it called that? Because as you can see, I'm finally wearing my alien jacket that I've been telling you about for the last few episodes. Finally got it finished. So as you can see from the front, it's very nicely fitting. On this side it has a spaceship that I embellished myself with some little creatures. We've got a cow and a man that I'll show you closer up later. And on this side I have a little alien that peeks out of the pocket. And he's he sticks out like that, right there. So that's the front. And it's really, and then I have the little fringes on the bottom and the top. Then when we're going to the side, I did insert some sleeves. And on the back, we have the alien himself. The alien has landed. And we have various patches that are UFO lore type patches in Roswell. So that is the completed jacket. I love making it. I love wearing it. I've worn it a couple of times out already. And I plan on wearing it once again when we go out this Friday to see a new alien movie called Jules that's going to be out on Friday. So Bob and I are going to go out on date night and wear this. So I would like to welcome you once again to our podcast. This is where we talk about knitting, spinning, sewing, weaving, and most of all, embellishing, which is what I did with this jacket. Now come inside to learn more about how I did it. This morning, I am drinking out of my 1950s vintage science fiction mug that I got several months ago. And Bob and I all summer have been rewatching our favorite 1950s science fiction movies because they're total fun and escape and very campy. And this mug has featured things like The Day the Earth Stood Still, When Worlds Collide, It, The Flying Saucer, Earth versus the Flying Saucer, The Man from Planet X, Invaders from Mars, The Blob, all my favorite science fiction movies. When Worlds Collide, I already said that. Anyway, I really love this mug, and so I'm drinking out of it today, and I'm drinking one of my favorite little coffees it's Verena Street, or I think Verena Street Crop Circle. And Crop Circle is a swirly mixture of hazelnut and cream. This is actually, I'm drinking it black like I always do. But it has a really nice, smooth, medium level of coffee robustness. So if you like a medium blend coffee, it's not light like a lot of the flavored coffees, it's medium. So we're drinking this today and out of my 1950 science fiction mug because today is the day that we finally get to talk about my alien jacket I've been mentioning in several previous episodes. So now let's talk about the alien jacket. I am so proud of how this turned out. I want to tell you a little bit about how I went about doing it and how I ended up with the jacket right now that I'm very happy with. First of all, in late June, I wanted to make an alien jacket, and I taught the jean jacket embellishment class at a small local fiber festival. So with this jacket, I did purposely buy more cropped than usual and closer fitting. And so I decided the first thing was the jacket I ended up with, which is this one, was a little bit scrappy to begin with. Someone had obviously worn it quite a bit, and there was a little bit of natural fraying on it on the original jacket. So I decided I was going to do a technique that I taught the class, which was to do some fraying on the jacket. So I started by cutting the bottom hem and taking scissors and going vertically up into to make a fringe. And I did the same thing on the collar because I wanted a scrappy kind of space junk kind of look to the jacket. And so that's the first thing I did. I made those cuts into the jacket to make the fraying, and I washed and dried this twice to get the right amount of fraying that I was looking for. And before I go any further into this, I think I should take a little side note here and tell you why I wanted to make an alien jacket. Because some people may be thinking this is a little weird. But the reason is because I always have loved science fiction. Has been one of my #1 loves in both reading and movie and TV watching. Because I grew up during the time with Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. I was alive during that whole space journey. And so at the very beginning of the 60s, they were starting into the space with President Kennedy. And so I followed the whole NASA Apollo space program during my childhood and watched every time the spaceship went up. So every time we had a journey into outer space, trying to get to the moon and then afterwards. I've been following that. And of course, I always loved watching the early 1950s vintage movies. They were kind of a little bit campy, but the idea of space exploration and what other civilizations might be like. So first of all, in the front, I decided to, again, do the fraying, which started it, and I wanted the sleeves. I cut the sleeves out, and I wanted this to have kind of a space junk kind of look to the jacket. I didn't want it to be smooth and pretty. I wanted it to be like space junk. And so originally I thought that the ideal color for this, featured a lot in this jacket, would be kind of this metally gray is how I picture the color of space and space exploration if it were to have a color. And so I wanted to have the sleeves. I cut out the original sleeves off the jacket. That was the first step, even before I did the frame. And I didn't want the sleeve cap here to be frayed. I wanted it to be, I sewed it inside because I wanted to feature these sleeves. But the sleeves I decided instead of knitting the sleeves like I'd originally thought I would do, I was able to find a jacket, or excuse me, a sweater at the thrift store, and that was this one. I actually found the sweater just after I found the jacket. And I've cut it up now a lot, so it's hard to see, but this was originally a dolman, excuse me here, I'm trying to find the top of it, dolman sleeve, but you can get the idea. It's glittery, it's gray, it's just the perfect yarn that I wanted in the sleeve. And so the sleeve was a dolman, so I had to cut it out and sew it together. And I decided to make a very rough sleeve. In other words, the sleeve seam showing. And I even cut later, I cut with pinking shears to make it, jaggedy but not fraying beyond the seam. But I wanted this to have a space junk look, and I think I succeeded in that. So I purposely left this bottom where I did the hemming, or the sewing together, the seaming. I purposely left that rough, and I did, like I said, use pinking shears to make it, rough, but yet not continuing to unravel. So that was the first thing. I sewed in these sleeves. And then I also cut a pocket off the original sweater. I was really fortunate to find this sweater. I cut a pocket off of it and put it on the front because I wanted to have this little spaceman sticking out. I don't know if you can see him. But I wanted to be able to close the jacket pocket but have him peek out. And so that's what I did with that. Then on the front also, I decided early on to use felting as a medium because I told you when we went to Fiber U, Carolyn and I got really interested in felting. And she took a felting class. So she and I did some playing around with the felting, and I decided that I should feature felting on this jacket quite heavily. So the first thing I did was freehand drew a spaceship, and then this yellow beam coming down is also felted on there. That's then there's a little cow. I don't know if you can see that up close. There's a little cow and a little hippie man being pulled up into the beam of the spaceship, and I really like that. I bought those on Etsy as little plastic figurines that were just the right size. And I have patches on here also, quite, as a feature. And later, one of the things I might do in the future with this front, I'm still thinking about it. I had to cut out this pocket. It was a faux pocket originally, so I made it into a regular pocket. I'm still thinking of embroidering with silver embroidery, sparkly thread around the pocket areas, and then having these little green aliens like I have here. I've got one or two more coming to me being shipped by Etsy. They're kind of hard to find. So I was going to have one sticking out here from this pocket and have a silver embellishment on these pockets with embroidery, because I do embroidery as well. So that's a thought I have. Originally, I thought of having on the fringe, I had thought about spray painting with fabric paint. I thought about spray painting that a silver color and match the sleeves. But I did an experiment by cutting some fringe out on the sleeve and gluing it, spraying it, and it came out too stiff. So I was glad that I did the little experiment and didn't actually spray paint on the jacket itself. So whenever you're doing anything you're not sure about on any kind of embellishment like this, rather than ruin your original product, your jacket, it's good to experiment. And my friend Carolyn had suggested that, because I said to her, do you think that this paint, it's fabric paint, so I thought, well, it should be soft, but I wasn't sure that that'd be a good look or not. And in looking at it, you know, I just really didn't think it was a good look, and it also was stiff. So I don't want any part of the jacket to be stiff. I want it to be very comfortable. So that is an example of when you're doing these kind of things, it's a good idea to experiment before you do it. I do like the natural fringe the way it is now, so I don't think I'll be doing anything more to the fringe. Now on the back, obviously the most important part, I had originally envisioned an alien face on the back of the jacket. I did this with felting, and my first one I attempted to do, I drew freehand, and the first one I did, I really didn't like it. I didn't do the felting right on the jacket. I did it separately and then attached this. Now, right now, this is loosely attached by sewing thread. I sewed it on. But if I decide I make a better alien face later, I can take this off and put on a different face. So I'm still not totally sure if this is exactly the right alien face. You let me know what you think. I still am considering whether I should try again. But at any rate, this is certainly wearable as it is now. And I have little other tags on here, like this one is a patch, an iron-on patch, that says, if chosen, remain calm. That one's one, and then Lost in Space, which is one of my childhood favorite shows, along with, you know, Star Trek, obviously. I loved Star Trek, the original series and the subsequent series. And then this is a another patch. Again, here's a Roswell patch. So these are what I have on the back at this point. Now, I would like to talk about a book that I am reading, or I just finished reading rather, that ties right along with this alien theme. And I didn't know at the time I was finishing up the jacket in late July and early August, I happened across in my next cue to read, I came up with a suggestion popping up on my Audible books that I read a book by Connie Willis called The Road to Roswell. Yeah, The Road to Roswell by Connie Willis. And I couldn't believe it. The minute I saw the cover to this book, which I'm going to show here on the screen so you can see it, it just made my heart flutter. I thought, oh my gosh, here I am finishing up my alien jacket, and along comes this serendipitous release of Connie Willis's book. And I think it may have come out in March or something, but I didn't see it until just the other day, just recently. So I went out immediately, got the book both on my Kindle and on my Audible, and I was listening to it concurrently like I often do, listening and reading. And so I read it pretty quickly, but I was so excited and had high expectations for this book. I will say it is a light, fun, more of a screwball comedy than a true science fiction. And Connie Willis is known and has won Nebula Awards and all kinds of different science fiction, the Hugo Award, for many of her books. And she has very serious books that I've loved, like the Doomsday Book and Lincoln's Dream, Passage, it was called, about near-death experiences, but these are all novels. She's done time travel and some really well-written science fiction, very serious science fiction and time travel. However, this book, she has now, as she has apparently produced a couple of books that are more humor-oriented, and I would call this particular one screwball comedy, nothing short of screwball comedy. It's literally like a road trip with an alien. And the concept sounds adorable, and it is. At the beginning of the book, I was just totally enthralled and so excited and happy that I'd stumbled upon this book. But I will say, at times, the humor got less humorous and more kind of redundant and repetitive, and a little bit, I felt like it needed a little bit better editing and tightening up. So I'm not going to tell you too much about this book, because if you're interested in reading it and you're needing to read a really light screwball comedy kind of science fiction book, it's more screwball comedy than sci-fi. And it even has a little element of romantic comedy in it. But it's definitely kind of a screwball kind of book. So if you're wanting a serious science fiction read, this is not it. But if you're wanting something lighthearted and you don't mind a little bit of repetitiveness and so forth, then you will probably really enjoy this. I did enjoy most of all the alien in the book. The alien was portrayed, and I'm not going to tell you anything more about that, but the alien is portrayed as quite different than your normal stereotypical alien. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So I would recommend this, but again, it doesn't get a 5-star. It'd be more like a 3. It's mediocre overall, but the beginning of it and the concept of it, it could have been a 5-star. So that's just my particular opinion of it. And at the same time, I also want to mention there are some other really, again, synchronicity type things that came along at the time that I was finishing the jacket. One is the movie, and I still haven't seen this, but I'm going to see it in the next few days. I'm determined, because it's now available on Peacock, streaming on Peacock. So I can get that because of Peacock. So it's starting on August 11th. So it just started. But it's called Asteroid City by Wes Anderson. And it involves, again, a spaceship landing. And it's that 1950s pastel kind of, very 1950s. So I'm really intrigued by that. I definitely want to see that Wes Anderson movie. At the same time, Bob told me yesterday there is a new movie coming out that's going to be out, I think, this coming Friday, called Jules, where an alien has landed in his backyard. So I definitely am going to be seeing that as well. So those are the kind of movies, books, and interests that I'm pursuing right now, all in some way kind of related or loosely related to my alien jacket. So let me know if you've seen any of those movies or read any of those books, and I'd love to know your opinion, what you thought of them. Next up, I want to tell you what is on my needles. I have been very slow producing this summer. Things have gone very, very slowly. But I did start my painting bricks socks. Like I told you last time, I was going to be starting. These are the start of the painting brick socks. I really love these. These are Stephen West. I used the aubergine yarn, and it's Emma's. I believe it's called Twilight is the colorway. That's that aubergine base color of the sock itself. And then for the little inserts, hold these. I'm using several scraps that I have in my stash for the colors that are in. There's lime. There's kind of a turquoisey color. I made a pair of socks out of this before. I loved those socks. This is a fuchsia color of Emma's. And this is also an Emma's yarn. I like Emma's yarn. This is April 20th, it's called. And again, I made a pair of socks out of these two. last year. So all these colors are involved as the little color bubbles in these pair of socks. So I'm about halfway down the leg at this point. This is the first sock. I haven't started the second sock yet. But these are going really fast. For me, I'm an extremely slow sock knitter. These are like potato chips. They just make you want to keep on knitting. So I'm really pleased with how these are turning out so far, and these are going to be very wearable for me. These are colors that I'll wear, and so I'm quite excited by how these are turning out. And the bag that I am using, again, the science fiction theme, the stars, and this was a bag originally made by Tada on Etsy, but she no longer makes these bags. I would love to and intend to try to figure out how to make a bag similar to this, because it's so usable. It has the handles and it has the drawstring top. But as I understand, I love the fabric, but as I understand, she no longer produces this style. This is an older style she used to do. So I've tried to lobby her to make more of them, but anyway, I may be trying my hand at making a similar kind of design for myself, because it's really fun, and I've been having a hankering lately to make a bag myself, so put out some bags in sewing. So I may be doing something, making my own bag, but for the meantime, this is my favorite project bag, and it's what I'm using for the painted bricks socks to hold all my different yarns that go into this. But hopefully I'll have these finished by next time, because they are going really fast, and this is just one of those instant gratification projects that I actually think I might end up finishing. Want to come up here, Walter? Okay. Walter wants to join us. Let me get you untangled, Walter. Yeah, Walter had to join us. And so you get to see him too. Well, one more thing I want to talk about before we go. Walter, we can talk about one more thing together, okay? I have been wanting to make, I loved the crochet top I made in the last episode that I showed you guys. And I've been wanting to make a crocheted shawl for fall. And I love the Hobby, or Hobby, however they say it, Hobbii company out of Denmark. I love getting things from them. And they ship pretty fast considering that they're in Denmark. They charge about $10 shipping, but honestly, at the cost of shipping these days, I don't begrudge paying that $10 because I get wonderful yarn from them. And this is Cotton King Deluxe Shine, and this is color number 8, called Imperial Purple, I believe. I think it is. But this is 1,000 meters, and the colors in it are oranges and purples and a kind of lightish purple and then a darkish purple. Anyway, I love this colorway for fall. And I originally, it says it's a number 2 weight, which would be a sport weight, but honestly, it's really, really thin. I almost feel like this is more of a fingering weight or a sock weight. Very thin. And so I'm thinking, this is on sale right now at Hobby. I'm thinking of getting a second ball so that I could put them together to make a shawl, because I'd like to make a crocheted shawl. And there are several different patterns I'm considering making. There's 3 of us that get together and crochet, and so I'm thinking we'll talk about it together. We're going to be meeting up this week, but I'm thinking of several different shawls I could do using this yarn. Either the Lost in Time shawl, which is a free pattern that I've been wanting to make for quite some time, and it's Joanna, I believe her name is Lindell, pronounced Lindell, shawl pattern that you can get for free on her website. And then there's 2 other shawls of Bagoday's. I love Bagoday's shawls, and many times she'll just have a tutorial and you won't have a written pattern always, but there are 2 particular shawls. One is the Killer Queen shawl, and I did purchase that pattern. You can actually purchase the written PDF on that along with her video of it. So there's the Killer Queen, and then there is another one. I think it's, well, I'm not sure the name of it. I will put it up too, but there's 3 different shawl patterns I'm thinking about making right now. So I will be letting you know next time which one I decided upon, but we're going to be making that because I definitely want a fairly quick to crochet shawl so that I can have another shawl for fall. And I'll be doing that and hopefully at least have a start on that the next time we get together here on this podcast. So I'll let you know what we end up with, but I love the way crochet shawls, I love doing the process of crochet, and I love how quickly you're able to actually create a completed shawl using, and some of the crochet shawls I made are among my favorites. So I will be starting on that at least, if not having some good progress to show you next time. And the last thing I think I mentioned in the previous episode, I do want to start a granny square little lapgin too. I haven't done that yet, but that is a plan of mine as well. For a very future plan is to get started on some squares doing that. So I'll let you know which one I decided on. I'm kind of leaning toward the daisy pattern, which is a free Hobie pattern, but I have to decide if that's going to be the one I do or what. But I do want to have and figure out my colors on it also. But I would definitely like a little, granny square, which is really becoming popular now again. I've always loved granny squares, and that was one of the things that motivated me to learn to crochet originally, was wanting to learn how to make those. So I'll let you know what I end up deciding on that, but I'm leaning toward the daisy pattern, which is free on Hobie. Hobie has a lot of free patterns, so if you're interested in checking that out, even if you don't end up buying yarn from them, I really like the free patterns that they offer. So until next time, I really want to thank you for joining me, and if you can invite others to join me that you know that are multi-craftal. I do talk about a variety of different crafts, and so hopefully if any of those crafts intrigue you or interest you, or you know someone else who likes to do those, then please do not only watch but share my videos or links to them to other people so we can grow the channel a little bit. I would appreciate it. And as I always say at the end of every podcast, love what you're making and wear what you make. Till next time, see you later.